Sooner Scoop HD.
Plus, how big is that for your program? Just to have a home where people can click on ESPN and find your games pretty easy.
It's amazing that during that softball game when they talked about it, it was amazing. My phone started blowing up and people started. It's a big deal. That platform, it puts you in a space where, you know, obviously ESPN is in millions and millions of homes, and it's just another level of stepping up with the OU brand. So you know, I did many games for all the sports too, and I think that's. I think in Untold Story, you start seeing the sports, especially the spring sports right now. You know, men's golf, softball, women's gymnastics, men's gymnastics, women's tennis, all of them, and it's going to give a complete platform to show you the totality of how the brand of OU is spreading around to all the sports. And I think that's another platform to let the whole country know what OU athletics is doing.
Porter, there were some NIL guidelines released, I think, Monday. What'd you think about that? What's it been like navigating that as you've gone through since things got opened up and it became a thing until now? And just what are your feelings on where it needs to go from here?
Well, I mean, they just opened the gates right out of the gate, and then like everything just happened at once. And now they're trying to put some guidelines on it. So we'll see how that plays out. But you know, there's got to be some balance. I mean, I think everybody thinks it was time to have the student athletes be able to capitalize on this, and I think that's a good thing. But just the guardrails, everyone was worried about what are the guardrails going to be, and then there was no guardrails, and then it opened up, and then now I think they're trying to step back. But you know, I think like anything, and we'll figure it out. We'll navigate through it, and it's definitely challenging. No doubt about that. But it's real. It's here, and we got to learn to navigate it the best we can. And I know we're going to continue to try to be in the forefront of it. But it's got to be. Eventually it's got to get to the point where it's an even. You know, that it's not just so out of whack with the competition. And I think that's where it's got to go. But that roadmap is very, very fuzzy right now.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be difficult to get there just with like the state.
Oh, there's so many. It's so complex. You got the state laws. You got all the all the different states of all the schools doing it. But you know, it's a reality. You know, I think like I said, we all feel like it was time that the student athletes capitalize on it. It's just we've got to figure it out. And we will. We always do, and we'll figure it out.
I mean, you see a kid transfer and you see the dollars associated with, a couple of cases, and then you wonder, is that kind of opening the floodgates for other people to think they're going to go out there and get the same thing? Is this the most uncertainty you can remember in the coaching profession since you've started?
Yes. Yeah, I could say that honestly. This is, I think, my 32nd year in Division I basketball as a coach and 4 as a player. So yeah, the fact that they both happened at the same time, that's the thing, because it's one thing having an NIL deal and go, well, should I go over here, but I got to sit a year. Now all of a sudden I say, well, I can go over here and don't have to sit a year. And then the same thing. I don't have to sit a year, I can go there because I can get NIL money. So the fact that they both hit the same time, that's what makes it the most challenging thing at this point that I can think of. I was just trying to think of the other things. We've always had different academic guidelines, NCAA rule guidelines. I mean, heck, I was part of the restricted earnings coach. That was my first job, was the old restricted earnings coach, which I was on the good side of litigation on that one with the NCAA. But this one is definitely, both of them at the same time, been the biggest challenge of what we've had to deal with.
It's been interesting because you've seen the NCAA kind of take some quick action, which doesn't always happen, at least not action, but discussions quickly. What role do you wish that the coaches could play in this, and how much do you guys need to kind of work together to solve this issue?
Well, I think all coaches will tell you, in our meetings and everything, some of these committees, and there's the transformation committee, there's a lot of committees, is you always wish you had a coach in the room with a voice. We're the ones living through this, and you'll see sometimes rules over the last decades, in the room, there's not a coach's voice. So I think what role of coach's voice is we want some people that have been in it in a long time, some representation with a coach's voice in these discussions. So I think that's, and there's a lot of things going to be moving on with, I mean, these next couple of years, the landscape is going to be very interesting of where things go. And you hope that there's some people in the room that's been living it from the coach's side that's in the room, you know, helping with that input and those decisions.
Do you feel like it's at a point where like it's almost worth it to take time out from your schedule to help try and fix this versus just living under this uncertainty the entire
Well, there'll be a lot of people smarter than me who's going to take time out. I don't think I'm going to be the one appointed to on that committee. But there's a lot of, you know, veteran coaches that have, you know, that have been through so many things that. But yeah, I definitely think there's going to be there's a lot of talk about having that, and obviously there's a lot of smart people on the administration side. I mean, these committees that they're putting together. I mean, it's one of the most pivotal times in our game, in all the games, in all the NCAA sports. It's a very, very pivotal time, and some of these decisions coming out of these are going to be monumental.
You built something special and cool at Loyola.
Yeah.
Came to OU 14 months ago, and new landscape with the immediate eligibility. Year later, the NIL is going crazy. Do you still have a blueprint on how to build a program, or you have?
I love this question. I love this question. It's you know, you probably heard me say a ton when I first got to Loyola, that my time with Rick Majerus, we talked so much about building a program and not a team. And I literally just heard it recently. People are like, well, man, you got to be so much about building a team than a program. And because the turnover. And I'm 100%, every bone in my body is still convicted on building a program. Because, you know, for this year, I just talked to the 5 guys. They're finishing finals. They're getting ready to go home for 3 or 4 weeks. I talked to all 5 of those guys about how crucial those guys are going to be to this summer's workouts, that they have it. When I got the job last year, I inherited like 3, and then we had to sign 10, and it was just the beginning stages. But how you build a program is you get to start a group of guys that believe in absolutely everything you're doing, how you are off the court, how you are off the court, how you carry yourself. And the new guys come in and like, this is the standard. This is what we do. And we feel like we got 5 guys like that, you know, led by Tanner Groves, Jalen Hill, Jacob Groves. I think C.J. Nolan started coming on at the end. But like, I talked to every one of those guys before they went home because we're about to come back in June. Those guys are crucial to building a program. And I think that's how you do it, is when the new guys come in, the guys that have been through it, the guys that believe in everything are the standard. They walk in that program. So, absolutely.
Porter, with NIL and the portal all at once,
Yep.
how big a problem is tampering for you guys, just across the country?
Well, that's, you know, there's a lot of voices in everything. And so there's just so much of it. A lot of people are calling it the pre-portal. But you know, you just pray that you just, the ethical part of it, but it's a lot of people around it with people in different years, you know, and that's what now more than ever we talk about in the recruiting process is to recruit the influencers in that, the people. Like, you got to be cognizant of the people that are in their ear because these kids making these decisions. But I think the kids have a challenge these days of how many people are in their ears. You know, there's a lot of people fighting for these kids' ears, and you're just praying that people that are keeping that close to them, and whether it's parents, a good solid coach that are guiding them.
Porter, with all the movement with the portals, we're seeing so much movement. How tough do you think it is for those high school juniors, high school seniors? Just the recruiting process has changed so much for them. How much do you see a change for those kids compared to 5 years ago, those juniors and seniors looking at schools?
Well, I think so you got the portal is involved, but you also have the COVID year is involved. I think that's another factor in it. You got this big pool of players that are still around, that are through. Until that COVID cycle goes where the kids have the extra year, it's limiting opportunities for high school guys. But I think you know, I've had parents talk to me about it, like opportunities. I think they just got to keep controlling what they control, you know, and you know, work on your game, work on your fundamentals, work on your strength, your nutrition, your mental health, all those things. Be coachable, be all those. Keep focusing on that, all the things you could control. You know, yes, there may be less opportunities, but that's not in your control. Just keep doing what you're doing, and the other thing is be open to every opportunity you can have. Sometimes people early on were closed off, like, I'm only going to talk to this level of schools. But just be open to the process, and focus in on what you can control.
Can you tell us anything about Spain and France?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us anything about Spain or France?
They're in Europe, and they're great cities. I've been to Barcelona. I love Barcelona, and that was kind of why we were going to go back there, and looking forward to the trip. That's about it. I'll be expanding on that later, but yeah, excited about doing that. All right, guys.
Sooner Scoop HD.